Hello, welcome back. So we are starting off with two glitters from the Glitter Ranch. I have Placid and Bel Air, and these are some of the new chunky mixes that she made. I have a 20-ounce mug from Craft Haven. I was trying to think. I was like, yes, it's Craft Haven. Anyways, I spray painted it with the slate blue spray paint because I kind of wanted it to have that underneath tone of that just of a blue kind of sky. And I knew that it was going to give me what I wanted as far as the background for this glitter and the whole look. So I started off with pouring them into these little cups because I have a drawer on my washing machine. I know I was told the story, but I keep those little cups in my craft room and I use them all the time for alcohol inks or glitter or whatever. And so I just poured them into this little cup here, and they have a little spout on the side so I can pour it back in there. But I took it and put a little bit of, I took the cup and put a little bit of epoxy on there, just ever so slightly on the handle and all on the front and the bottom. And I just took Bel Air and just drizzled it. I did not care if it was getting down to the bottom. It was just, I wanted that sparkly kind of snow look on the bottom. And this one, I will say that in the very beginning when I was putting it on here, I was like, oh, this is a little bit darker than what it looked like in the bottle because of the teal and, blue color. But I was like, oh, well, it's already on here, so we'll just go from there. But it actually, when I put Dreamin' on there and covered the whole thing with it, it actually worked out perfectly fine. But this was a little bit darker blue than I wanted, but it is a gorgeous color, and it has some good chunky silver bits in there, so they kind of matched the Placid look. I mean, matched the Bel Air on the top. So this is Dreamin', and this is part of the Selena mix, a bundle that Ricky put together for the Glitter Ranch. And it is a gorgeous silvery, it has a little bit of blue in there, a little bit of white. I don't know. It worked out perfect for this because I wanted it to cover all of these because I wanted it to have just this frosted look on it, and it especially worked out well for that blue on the bottom because it was a little bit darker than what I had thought. So therefore, when I put the Dreamin' on there, it really softened it up, and it really softened this whole color up, and it really looked like just frost, and that was what I was going for. Snow, wintertime, cozy, that kind of thing. So after dousing it all with that Dreamin', I just took my parchment paper and I just made sure that I flattened out as much of that chunky glitter as I could because there was a lot of chunky in both of those mixes. And so I just wanted to make sure that we were not having to put a ton of extra coats of epoxy on here. So I just smoothed it out with my parchment paper. So I did seal this with polyacrylic, and I wasn't like too careful about it because obviously there was, chunky on each side and it didn't really matter. But I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't getting like big chunks of glitter moving all around the cup. So that's why I made sure to seal it. But you wouldn't necessarily have to seal this. But I do like to seal it and things like this because if you don't, sometimes the epoxy it just has a harder time, curing or just getting like that really nice first coat. So that's why I like to seal it. Anyways, putting a first coat of epoxy on here. Right after this coat of epoxy, I went right in with a second coat of epoxy. And then I went into the rest with the sanding and the rim and then putting the decals on. So I am taking my measuring tape here because I need to know just how much room I have in the you know, around the edge or whatever on the bottom. And this is a lot thicker cup than most, so I had a lot of room to work with. But you also have to take into account that handle, so you don't want everything to be too far, you know, too tall up and that kind of thing on all the way around. So you want to make sure you have a smaller part. So here, I printed off all of these pieces from the Creative Fabrica, and I have a link down below that you can click on it, and that it will take you there to this and my affiliate link. And I would love for you to purchase this or get a membership. I think that I have thoroughly enjoyed my new Creative Fabrica. It's just, there's just so many things, so many options, so many fonts, and everything you could possibly need in there. So I just love it. So this is the moment I realized that I did not push record. I paused the video and I did not go up and push record, or I thought it did and it didn't. So anyways, I put on all of my little decals and I was working really hard, and I realized I did not record this. So I'm recording now that I did take off that first sign that I put on there because it actually was way too low, and I should have done it in the end anyway after I put everything on there. So I just ripped that off. Thank goodness I printed 2 of them, and so I just put the new one on. And I knew I needed to be a little bit lower because I was going to put a drip on there, but I just didn't know that it needed to be a little bit higher than where I had originally put it. I'm going to upload on Friday a video of how I uploaded everything to Cricut Design Space and how I laid it out and made it look the way that it did. So I got the Simply Sarah box for Halloween, and it was all vampires and werewolves, I think. So there was some gorgeous, absolute gorgeous micas in this. So I took the Silver Blade was the name of it, and I put that in there because I wanted it to have a little bit of a silver mix because of the silver on the cup. And then I took just the Surrender from Glitter Ranch, the white mica. It's just a plain white, just has a little bit of iridescent to it mica, and so I put that in there. And then I put some snow cap in there because I wanted it to have some sparkle. And I love doing this whenever I'm working with micas, is I'll put a little bit of that additive in there, and then it just adds a little bit extra, you know, sparkle, extra little something to it. So I put about 20 milliliters in here. And I said this last week because of it getting so thick, sometimes you need a little bit more to work with. And so I mixed it. I mixed in some white epoxy mix that I have listed down below as well. And I realized that it was like a little bit too silver. And so I kept kind of adding and adding and adding this and adding a little bit more mica and adding a little bit more, you know, so I just kept going until I got that perfect kind of a creamy gray, frosty white that I wanted to match that color. I wanted it to be a little bit more white, but I still wanted it to have a little bit of that frosty kind of gray look. And this took me several tries. I probably put a little bit too much of that mica, that Silver Blade mica from Simply Sarah. That stuff is extremely pigmented. And so I would say do not put as much in there, because I really had to compensate for that silver that was in there. I should have only put just a tiny bit. And so, but all in all, it came out fine. It was perfect. It's just probably in hindsight, maybe not so much silver. So I knew I wanted to use the penguins. And when I found those penguins, I knew that this was going to go with what I wanted to do. Now, first I was just going to use the 1 sprinkles with the penguins in there and the little pearls. But then I found the candy cane, and I found the little red little bits a part of the images that I found with that penguin mix. So it was actually, I was thinking, okay, perfect. Then I'll use the red sprinkles and the peppermint circles to emulate kind of a candy cane, and it will go perfect with the color scheme and all of that. So once again, like last week, which I'm actually making in the same cup this week, somebody ordered one. So I have some of the pink waiting there while I do this. And so I finally brought it down and was like, okay, y'all need to be able to see it at a different angle so you can actually see me do the drips and see them work. And so I'm going to go through this pretty fast because I did this last week and it is literally the same exact thing that I did. I waited probably about 2 hours. I don't know that I waited 2 hours this time because it's a little bit cooler weather here, and so the epoxy cured a little bit faster. I don't know why, or maybe I put because it had so much of that stuff in there. I have no idea, but it was getting pretty thick, a lot quicker. So it was probably about an hour and a half, but I still waited a long time to do this part. But I did the same exact thing that I did last week. I just took it and ran my popsicle stick just over the side. My hand was constantly in the way, and I tried to cut this as much as possible so that y'all could actually see. And at some point, I tried to realize that my hand would get in the way, and then I would get back to going back in front of the camera. But anyways, it's just a drip. It can be however you want. It can look however you want. It can be as drippy as you want or as thick as you want. It's just absolutely your opinion. I mean, it's absolutely your choice on what look or feeling you're going for. So, word of advice, I would for sure put a wand, a cup wand in there so that you can lift this up and down or flip it upside down and flip it back over. I did not do that, and so I tried to do it in the middle of all of this, and that didn't work either. I had epoxy going all the way down in there and all over my chuck, all over my cup wand. So just make sure that you do this before you start going in with your all your drips, because they were getting a little bit long, so I was kind of trying to pull them up. So I just was taking my popsicle stick and kind of pulling them up, and then I was taking the cup and flipping it upside down and holding it by the handle so that I could get a little bit more of the drip to kind of go back up to the top, so it wasn't dripping so far down. So after going back and forth, upside down, back up, that kind of thing, I decided, okay, I think that the epoxy is kind of where I want it to be, and the drips are where I want to be. So now I'm going to go in with my sprinkles. Now, I didn't just pour them out because I definitely wanted to make sure that I got those penguins on there. So I was just placing them on there individually with some tweezers. I would just kind of stick my tweezer in there and get some, or I would try to get a penguin or a pearl. And so I really wanted to make sure I was using all of the elements in this particular one because it was so super cute with the snowflakes and all of that. But at the same time, I had my peppermint and green and red and white mix on the paper, so I could strategically kind of pull each of those little peppermints or the red or a white sprinkle out of there. So I made sure that I was, representing all of the little elements out of each one. So, and I just absolutely love both of these sprinkles. I think together they were just so cute. That little pop of red with the little pop of red that we have down at the bottom with the little penguins there. I just think it was just awesome. Like all the colors went so well together. So I was very, very pleased with this. And I just continued to fill these little areas up I was trying to make sure that we were getting enough blue, enough red, enough white, enough penguins. I kept turning it upside down because the drips were getting a little bit longer. So I was turning it upside down and then putting the sprinkles on as I was doing that. So had I put a wand in here, and I did that last week. I don't know why I don't know why it didn't cross my mind, but take my advice. Don't do what I did and make sure you have a wand in there so you can flip it upside down. So I was just doing this with the handle and then putting the little pieces on there as I was doing that. So watching the drips and making sure they were coming back down. But they actually were pulling the sprinkles down. So it was a task, but absolutely worth it. But it was pulling the little sprinkles down as well as the epoxy was dripping down. So I really had to sit and watch it. So I would not do this if you just needed to leave and go. You're gonna actually have to spend a little bit of time on this and making sure that you're getting the look that you want. So on the very first layer of epoxy that I did over the images, I put some of that snow cap in there so that we could have some frosty, sparkles over the images and over those drips and over those, little sprinkles. So I just added a little bit of snow caps into that first coat. After this, I put another 2 coats after I had to do some sanding on the handle and that kind of thing. So after that, it was absolutely finished and ready to go. Now, I actually made this for Made by Manny and Mal's Elite Patreon group, and they're having a contest, and so I decided that I would enter in, but I had these beautiful glitters and those beautiful sprinkles from the Glitter Ranch. Everything's linked down below. Please, if you remake this, tag me, join my group, and I will see you next time.